All right, Mattia. So you want general input on your log, so let's check it out. Okay, so pulling up your Blackbox log here, looking at the pitch, roll, and yaw, and you have the debug mode notch. One of your questions was, should you go for soft mounting? Looks like your flight controller soft mounted, but should you soft mount your motors? Running the spectrogram on pitch and roll, I'm not seeing anything high peaks, so that soft mounting is working pretty well. But with that, you really need to, I don't see any real aggressive moves here or punch outs with this log. It's mostly around, the third throttle, so I'm not seeing any mid throttle oscillations, which is good. If I would see mid throttle oscillations, usually in this range, when the throttle's in this range, you'll see some oscillations with powerful motors. That's where I would definitely recommend doing soft mounts on your motors in addition to the flight controller. I'm not seeing those here, so that's a good sign. I'm not seeing a lot of noise in general, so another good sign. One thing I would do is turn off your gyro notch for your static notches, static notch 1 and static notch 2. I don't think you need those. In addition, I don't really believe you need the Dterm notch either. The other thing you should do is sample at a higher logging rate. So right now you're sampling at 1 kilohertz logging rate. I can see there's some noise here starting at 500 hertz, but we can't see any higher than that because it's always half of the sampling rate that this allows you to look at. So 500 hertz is a half of 1 kilohertz, so on and so forth. So bump your sampling rate up to 2 kilohertz so we can see a little bit farther, and maybe there's something to address out here. Do another log where you're doing punch outs, maybe a flip or roll if I know you're just starting, but maybe a flip or roll if you can, but definitely some punch outs and going back and forth and things of that nature. The other thing that I would do is by default I would lower my Dterm. Betaflight Dterms are high for nowadays. With more powerful motors these can be reduced. I would change these down to 25 for now. That just helps with not amplifying noise as much, and I wouldn't think you'd need it. PID tuning is a whole separate thing. I just think for now just move those down to 25. Let's get the filters squared, and then you can go through the Stinger Swarm PID tuning video, and that's what I recommend. Everything else here seemed pretty good. You were talking about recording a debug mode of gyro. Wouldn't need that. Just keep that as notch. One thing to keep in mind is after you get this all tuned, filter tuned, you can turn that debug mode off. It optimizes how it runs a little bit because it's not having to record that data. So once you're done with the filter tuning, I always turn the debug mode back to off. And I think that's it for now. There is a thing that I've just found in the last couple days. There's a thing in Betaflight 3.3 and 3.3.1 where the Dterm is not acting right. There's some jerks. If you sample at a 4K or higher logging rate, you'll see some Dterm spikes that shouldn't be there. So there's an issue request for that. I guess really if you want to get the best tune and flight performance, the reason I'm bringing this up is that you may want to flash back to 3.2.3 because this problem's not fixed in 3.3.1, and I don't think the devs really know if it's an anomaly, if it's an anomaly from logging that fast. It doesn't seem like it is to me because it doesn't appear in 3.2.3, and I don't think anybody really knows where it's coming from right yet. And if anybody else is looking at this and you're wondering what I'm talking about this. Ignore these bigger jerks. This is because I turned off RC interpolation altogether. But these little jerks here that always go back, you can see they always go back to center position for Dterm, shouldn't be there. It does cause excess motor noise. If I go to here and then go down to Motors tab, you can see that excess motor noise and spike. I did some testing just today, and I need to do some more testing, but I swear my motors are running cooler on older releases of Betaflight. Butterflight is somewhere in between. Looked like at 3.2.5, the issue, this we're going to call it Dterm spikes, aren't there. However, the PID error isn't as smooth as it looks or appears like it was in 3.2.3. And this is what I'm talking about. So look at the PID error here. This is with smoothing turned off, 4K logging rate, 8K, 8K, 4K logging rate. This is the PID error, and then you can see the Dterm is essentially measuring the slope of the PID error for its magnitude. You can see the PID error is pretty smooth looking, and then the Dterm is pretty smooth looking as well. Not too bad, right? If I look at a 3.2.5 log, same filter setup, same, well, the rates, I need to confirm this, the rates are higher in this log than the other one. This has default, the 3.2.3 log has default beta flight rates, which is like 621 degrees per second. This one I had at 831 degrees per second. But you see how that PID error is more jumpy? I don't think the rates would have an impact on that. But I'm going to fly that tomorrow. See how that PID error is more jumpy, and then you can see the Dterm is more jumpy, especially here. I would call that like an unstable Dterm because of those jumpy rates. So, yeah. Anyways, stuff I'm looking at. Hope some of this stuff with the noise analysis helped. And welcome to peering down the rabbit hole of Blackbox log review. See you around.
Accelerated ideas.